Today we're here at Byron Bay, an absolute Australian icon. It's the most easterly town, city, point of Australia. We've got beaches that stretch out for miles, the beautiful white water, but what we're here for is the lighthouse. It's a spectacular setting. We've got orange rooftops of the old lighthouse keeper buildings. I'm super excited to paint this one. Let's see how I go. Well, this is a subject that I've long known of and never really sort of been able to get back in the position to get to the area to be able to paint it. And that's so common with so many subjects that you may see either on television or now on the internet with Google Images, or it may just crop up. You might be searching for classically lighthouses. So 80% of the lighthouses in Australia come up and you think, oh geez, you know what, that's a really great subject. And that's what sort of really did drive me, I think, to come back to paint this scene. The one thing was that I did quickly realise, ouch, this is actually a slightly trickier scene than I realised. But I think when that happens, or when you're under pressure, that's when we mostly need to rely on our technique. Whether it's a race car driver and I did race a bit of a motocross, and classically, like when I started painting, my technique was a little weak. So that's why my painting didn't thrive as much as it could. So that's why I went to do the drawing practice, did the still life work, did some portraiture, life drawing, really sort of did the plein air drawing work, and then got into the outdoor stuff. And with my motocross riding, my oldest brother second oldest brother, he's the real keen motocross guy in the family, and he showed me some true riding techniques, and boy, not only with confidence but my ability just increased. So I was about 21, 22 when I was doing that, and that really did teach me. That's where sport and other things in life can really teach us so much, just with life itself. And I think our painting does become quite a reflection on our lives and on our families, and the amount of things that you've just someone said in the family in passing, and oh, you know what, that triggered a thought how to solve a concern. So I've unified all those big shapes. The rooftops of that orangey red really were the unifying pattern that I was aiming to get through. The lighthouse was the real focal area, the focal point. But I seem to have a fascination with chimneys, not so much the whole tower of the lighthouse, but the top part of the lighthouse. It seems to be the main part of it. Really, the tower is to hold up the light at the top. But they're normally sort of real little works of art. You can see some amazing chimneys, and what else? Even probably the the chimneys on a train, or definitely on houses. But I think that's kind of almost the focal area of the focal area when this one is the top part, the part that I'm working on now. So I'm very conscious that I don't go too dark with this background. It's so easy because if anything, we're better off going one value too light than one value too dark, because being dark in the shadow, when I put the foliage colour on top, it's only going to reduce that field of depth. So that's why I've learnt and had to almost and I'm actually fighting my instincts, because if anything, I do tend to put my values in that first stage on too dark, which is on purpose. I always like to say one value too dark, one value too warm, because we can always drag it back. But I think to micromanage my painting, I've had to really fight that instinct in that distant value, that distant blue, trying to get more blue in, less red, less yellow, and use that power of blue, the atmosphere, to really power and to create that field of depth. Because unlike a still life, where we have probably 1, maybe 2 feet of depth, I've got probably a mile or 1.5 kilometres of depth. So here I'm bringing the small little size 3 Master's Choice brush. They're so marvellous for these small little, almost drawing, where I'm coming back to draw in some of the darks. Even though technically I'm doing the darks first, then the midtones and then the lights, but I do tend to paint a little bit more like a watercolourist, where I sometimes will have a big area of light and I'll come back in and knock in those shadows of, say, windows or those little darks. But there is a little bit of green up in that, in the lamp, in the lens of the lamp. So you can see that tiny little bit of green, which I think helps to really visually portray that shape up in there. You've got to be careful. I just noticed how with that little bit of time lapse, it did soften off that edge of the vertical shape of the lighthouse. And this was quite a busy tourist spot, so but we did manage to get the drone up without any concern. Some places you can come across some people that aren't that friendly or understanding that we're not trying to spy on them, or even some farmers. If you are thinking of getting a drone, just be careful with farmers. Sometimes they think you might be a greenie coming to spy on them and report them to the council or the government and that's the furthest thing from my mind. Most farmers are very responsible because they know they need to get a certain yield off their farm, off their land. So they know the land as good, if not better, than 90% of us. So that's nothing further is from the truth, but we found out a few of the little kinks. So now I'm just trying to, there is some foliage here and grasses here, so I'm just trying to build up a little bit of texture. I was fortunate that I got that really nice shadow in on that left-hand side, and that's really holding up well for this stage. It's quite a bit of blue. You can see that reflective blue in the lighthouse and the building, because I think it was about 1991 or 1990 that I actually first went to this area. And then I think we did a quick little trip about 12 or 15 years ago. Just a little day trip, more family trip and with family and friends. So a lot of times I tend to try and turn off the painter's mind, but with life being so short, you've got to take advantage of every situation. So this one was a very long, busy day, but we did manage to get to the areas that we wanted to, and everything went pretty well to plan, which was great. And that's why I didn't want to let down that day with doing a disappointing or an average painting. So I was really thrilled with how this one came out. So just experimenting with some different brush marks there for the fence. If anything, there's too many fences, too many lines. I've got to be careful that I don't put too many of them in, mainly because it's going to zip and run the eye round and just make it a little overworked, and that's why indicate, don't state. That is such an important, and I have to thank Joseph Zbukvich for that saying. I wish I came up with that one. So many great sayings and thought processes with painting. So just coming back in, and this is probably a crucial little thing just to remind everyone that even though I may blast in with a decent sized brush, I'm aiming to get it sort of about to 80% finished, and then I'll allow some time to, because there are normally other things to do, but then I'm coming back. Once the paint has tacked off, then I know that I can do this final work and do the finishing off. That was a really pleasing result. I think the combination of the actual tower, the buildings, being in such an unusual location as well, really did provide that great challenge. But I was happy with the paint application, the finish, the drawing. So it was a really great result. Hope you enjoyed it. All the best. Bye for now.